welcome everyone who's joining us today to the latest installment in our Green Careers Livestream series. I'm Jeff Chandler from Nature Forward, and I'm joined here today by Lauren Parker. And we're really glad you're here with us. I've got a couple questions for Lauren about her work, and then I can open it up to the class that's going to be joining us and to anyone else who's joining to ask your questions as well later on in the session. We've got a break in the rain here, so we're going to use that for as long as we can. And if at some point, the sky decides to rain on us again, we might have to move and improvise a little bit. But for now, we'll get started. And Lauren, I'd love to start if you would just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Lauren Parker. I am an attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity, as well as on our leadership team at the Green Scheme. What that means is I do a series of environmental law cases against oil and gas companies, challenging their projects and permits with the center. And with the Green Scheme, I help conduct programs for youth all across Washington, D.C., most specifically in Ward 7 and 8. We teach them about green careers like what we're doing right now. We garden with the kids. We host other fun activities, our Halloween events and things like that. Anything to get them outside and involved with the world around them.
Nice. Thanks so much for talking with us today, Lauren.
Of course.
So you mentioned a couple different sides of the work that you do. What are some of your favorite parts about those different parts of your job?
Yeah, I think my favorite part of working with the center and being an environmental lawyer in whole is that knowing that when I get a win, it doesn't just affect me or the community that I'm working on behalf of, it affects people globally as we fight against climate change. So that's probably my favorite part about that. And then in the contrast, my favorite part about working with the Green Scheme is being so grounded in the work and working with communities that live right near me and kids that went to some of the same schools as I did as a native.
Yeah, that's so important to have people right here within DC who grew up here and are working here and making space for students like the ones joining us today to learn more about that work.
Yes.
So speaking of being in DC, I look around us and it looks a little different than a lot of parts of DC that I know. So I see things growing, I see art, I see birds flying around and joining this space with us. I even see an outdoor kitchen here where we are. So tell us a little bit about where are we and what's your connection to this place?
We are in the Great Ward 8 at the Ward 8 Well. In other words, we call it the Well at Oxon Run. This space was an idea that was brought to life in 2019/2020. We had our first growing season that concluded last year. This space is a community space that was created to bring fresh produce to the community, as a community that lacks grocery stores and other resources. So bridging that gap with with food justice, as well as creating a space where kids can come and hang out and learn right in their backyards. And I think our students have joined us. This is awesome.
Welcome. Welcome, fifth graders from Mary McLeod Bethune Day Academy. Great to have you with us. Can you hear us okay?
Oh, I'm gonna turn on the camera in just a second so you guys can all say hi. Sorry for the late start, but here is my class. They're excited.
Yay. Welcome, great to meet you all. Hello. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm gonna turn us back on mute until you guys have questions, or they have questions.
Sounds good. Yep. And so for the fifth grade class joining us, hopefully you can hear us okay. So Lauren Parker was just telling us about some of the work that she does. And we are here at the Well at Oxon Run. So a place that is very close and you can come visit, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that might happen. And so in addition to being here at the Well and the work that's going on here, Lauren, I know you mentioned working for the Center for Biological Diversity as a staff attorney there. And so I know that opens up legal matters all over the country and really in places far beyond DC. So can you share a little bit about how you got involved with that position and sort of what it's like to work in that space?
Yeah, how I got involved is actually a wonderful story. So I started my career in agriculture. I studied agriculture and water hydrology in undergrad, And I began working on farms as well as working in the classroom, teaching kids garden education, as well as about health foods and food systems. And so I remember in North Carolina, where I was working, I went to visit this one community to promote our farm programs to the farmers around. And this community was like a pork farm community. And if you know anything about pig farms, they are a nuisance when it comes to smells, when it comes to water quality, when it comes to a lot of different things, if not managed properly. And this was a huge problem in that area, and it was causing an influx in cancers, unfortunately. So I went to a seminar that kind of talked about how a different community in North Carolina was suing the EPA for continuing to prove air quality permits for these pork farms and communities that already had way too many in their area. And they were also approving the use of sludge, which is pig poop, being applied onto land nearby schools, nearby hospitals, near all these different places that probably should not have such waste in their area. And it wasn't being applied properly, so it wasn't being covered after application, which means if it rained, you know, it washed off into different water resources and things like that. And so I learned about how this community was in active litigation with EPA. And so I went to law school, finished up, and I moved to Washington, D.C. And I had already heard about the Center for Biological Diversity, and I had applied and so I applied again, and they told me no again. And so then I started working for the Department of Justice, and I was in their bankruptcy division, which was painfully boring. I was litigating over petty sums of money to get back money for the government, essentially. And I did that for about 6 months, and my third application with the Center for Biological Diversity was still pending. And then I got a call for an interview. So finally, after 3 tries, I got a yes. And I immediately left DOJ and transitioned into my environmental law career. And I couldn't be happier. I'm grateful that I did not stop trying when I got my first no, that I kept going until I got a yes. And now I'm in the space that I want to be, doing the work that I've always wanted to do since I started attending law school. So that was a fun story for how we got to here.
Yes, yeah, of course. Well, it sounds like quite a process too, to apply and then to stick with it too. And so I know that's maybe an experience that some of our students can share too. If you try something and it doesn't work out the first time, but try it again, you've just heard how it can really lead to great things. You keep at it, you keep working towards it, you keep practicing and improving and learning. And then, yeah, you get to a position that you're really doing great work. And thank you for doing the work you're doing, because you're helping protect, air quality and so many sort of ways that we depend on the environment to keep us healthy and our communities healthy.
Yes. So not every no is a no. It sometimes just means not yet. And sometimes experiences that we don't always love can lead us into places that we need to be, because I think I was accepted and I was told that like DOJ was something that stood out on my resume. And so if I never took that job where I didn't want to work, I would have never got to this place because I wouldn't have had the experience. So yeah.
Definitely. Wow, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Well, so thinking, so on a large scale of, cases around the country that you're working on, and then your work right here at the well in DC, those seem at first like they might be kind of disconnected or unrelated, but have you found ways that those two parts of your work really do inform each other or help you out in each of those sides?
Yeah, I think the basis of all the work that I do is justice on different fronts when it comes to the environment. So with the Green Scheme, we were founded on the concepts of food justice, which is about somewhat of what I was talking about earlier. There's communities in Washington, D.C. that are heavily populated with Black and Brown people that do not have access to healthy foods. And by access, I mean they don't have very many grocery stores. And the only places they can get food are fast food places, restaurants, and convenience stores. Like that's where people buy their groceries. This limits your options. You don't have the options of fresh produce or fruits and vegetables. So we started doing community gardens all around Washington, D.C. at the schools, education seminars at the colleges, just talking to people about this food justice issue, as well as how important healthy eating is. Because when you don't have access to healthy foods, you consume all these other unhealthy foods, which creates a huge health disparity, higher rates of diabetes, cancers, and an array of different health impacts, just concentrated in one particular community because there aren't enough resources. And so that's also what the well was founded on, providing resources to communities that really need them. And so that aspect of justice, and then the environmental justice piece, where we're fighting for people to have clean air and clean water and just beautiful communities that deserve to be preserved, as far as their beaches and their parks and all of these different natural spaces that we all need to survive and thrive. So the big overlap is justice being at the core of the mission, working on behalf of communities that look like me, have similar experiences and backgrounds, but just might not have the tools that they need to advocate best for themselves. So the center, a wonderful place that provides free legal representation to these communities that really need it. And the Green Scheme and the well at Oxon Run that provides free groceries and free summer camps and all these other different resources to families and communities that really need them. So that's like the big thing that overlaps, is it's all about justice and bringing resources to people that need them the most.
Yes. Yeah. Connecting justice and connecting people.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So thinking about, you already shared a little bit of your journey to where you are now, and some lessons learned along the way. And I'm wondering too, if you could share, we've got students joining us or who may be watching this after today as well. Share some of the early maybe activities or classes or involvement that you were involved in through elementary school or when you were younger, that you now see sort of led you to this path, or that you see reflected in the work you do today.
Yeah. I loved science as a kid. It was always one of my favorite classes. I wasn't good at it. I wasn't great at it, I should say. I was a BC student when it came to the sciences, but it was my favorite class. So earth science was a big one. I attended a lot of different summer camps like the ones we offer here with the Green Scheme, where they just get you immersed in the outdoors. I think when I first went to college, I really thought that I wanted to study bugs. That was like my big thing. I was like, I loved bugs. And like I had a million bug books growing up, from elementary all the way until high school. Earth science was my favorite, marine biology, all those things. And so I was like, well, maybe I want to study something with animals. And because I was not great at science, it was like, oh, I don't know if I can like really succeed in these courses. So I came into college undecided, and I was taking all these core classes in environmental science, which was in the same building as agriculture education. And I was volunteering with this organization that was teaching gardening to small children at local elementary schools. And one of my professors who led the program was just like, you sure you don't want to major in agriculture education and like teach this full time? And it was an immediate yes for me. So I was right on it. But the big things were a lot of science classes, a lot of camps geared towards the outdoors, and having fun with that at every step of the way. As well as joining the debate team in high school. I think that really fueled me becoming a lawyer. I was really good at it. I like arguing.
Yeah, it's a great skill.
Yeah, so those are the big things that I think really influenced me becoming a lawyer. If you would have asked me in elementary school, would this be what I'm doing? I would probably say yes to the Green Scheme part. I'd be like, yeah, totally. I work outside. That's what I do. And then if I heard that I was a lawyer, I'd be like, what? Like, what made us go to law school? So yeah, that's the big stuff.
All right, so I heard having fun is a big piece of that. And so keeping your eye out for opportunities that come up that you may not know you're interested in, but taking those and trying them out, trying new things and seeing if they spark an interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole world of environmental career paths out there. And so like Lauren was sharing, it may not be something that you recognize today, but it may be something that you see down the line or that someone introduces you to, and that you find out, hey, I'm really good at this, or I could be good at this if I learn a little bit more and keep working at it. So at this point, I'd love to open it up to our students from Mary McLeod Bethune Day Academy. So sorry, I didn't give you much of a heads up there, but we'd love to take a couple questions from students, and then as they're getting ready, anyone else who's joining us virtually, there's a question and answer, Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen that you should be able to open up and type in any questions, and then Sean will help relay those questions to us verbally so that we can try to answer some of those as well. So to our students at MMBDA, who's got a question for us that they'd like to ask Lauren? And I do see a question that's come in through the question and answer. So maybe we'll take that first as our 5th grade class is getting set up and ready to ask a question. And then we'll come to you next, 5th graders, all right? So get ready. All right, so the question coming in through the question and answer, what do you like the best about the well?
I am probably so biased because I love everything about this place. But my favorite part about the well and about the work that we do here at the well is hosting field trips. I like how excited kids are to be outside of the classroom, to connect the dots between what they're learning in the classroom to what we do here. We take them into the creek nearby and we talk a little bit about water quality, and we kind of just let them walk around, see what critters they see living in there, and ask whatever questions they're interested in. It's really nice to see I don't know, this scientific spark coming into the kids and how excited they are to be like in this outdoor space, and also in an open space where they can scream and they can run around and they can just really enjoy themselves and it still be an educational thing. So that's like one of my favorite parts. The other thing is like all these beautiful plants that you guys can't see. It's really nice coming on harvest days and, you know, weighing out how much produce we've got, breaking it down into boxes, and then just giving it away. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of people coming in, a lot of great conversation that, you know, starts up and meeting neighbors of the area. And yeah.
And Jeff, we have another question too from Vince, if you would like to take that now.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. It's can you tell us your best memory about nature from when you were a student?
Oh, yes, that is such a fun question. So when I was, I guess around the 5th grade, I was about 10 years old. I went to my first sleepaway camp, and the only sleepaway camp that I ever went to, but I remember this experience like vividly. And it was an adventure camp in West Virginia. And a part of this adventure camp was, you know, we slept outside, so we did camping and all that other stuff. But another part was we did this like water hike where all of us put on these like waders. And we had rafts, so you could get wet if you wanted to. If you didn't, you know, that's fine too. We wore bathing suits and we hiked about a mile through this river on rafts, pushing each other through with our counselors. And I remember them telling us about beaver sharks, right? And disclaimer, beaver sharks are not a real thing. But at 10 years old, I thoroughly believed that these beaver sharks were a real thing. And I was terrified that I was going to run into this hybrid beaver of a shark thing. And I thought I did. And I went home and I told my parents about it. And my mom was like, there's no such thing as beaver sharks. But I remember that only because I remember all of us kids like sitting around later at dinner and being like, did you see the beaver shark? Like, I totally saw it. And, you know, it was so close and almost bit one of us. And there was no such thing as a beaver shark. I don't know what I saw, probably nothing. But that's one of my favorite memories was that camp. We went horseback riding and we camped out in the woods without tents, which was my first time camping without a tent. Would I do that today? No, but it was fun then. And just, you know, all the different experiences that we did, it was great. That's my favorite.
Sounds like good campfire stories for later that night too. The legend of the beaver shark. It sounds like a good challenge for our 5th grade class too, to illustrate, you know, what the beaver shark looks like, and then send them and we'll get them to Lauren and she can match them up with
my vision of that.
Yeah. So I want to check in with our 5th grade class. Do we have anyone ready to ask a question?
It can be about anything, including beaver sharks.
I think we have one question. Jamana, do you want to just ask it? Go for it. Did you hear that?
Could you relay it for us?
Yeah, sure. The question was if that you had to have a different job, if that wasn't your role, what role would you do or what other job? Thank you, Jamani. That was a good question.
That is a great question. If I had to have a different job, I would probably be some type of field scientist. Like I would have got a master's in some type of specialized science. Maybe I would have done the bug science thing and I would have been a field scientist doing that, studying bugs, classifying them. Yeah.
And in case, my understanding of a field scientist might be different than others too. Can you tell us a little bit more about what does that involve?
Yes. And this is a great question. At the center, we also work with a lot of field scientists. That's how environmental law and just the environmental sector touches on everything. So a field scientist is not someone that works in a lab. This is someone that's like outside in the natural world, studying how it exists in that space, taking data and bringing it back to a lab to be relayed and processed into research information. Field scientists work on individual projects for years times, just because the outside world is forever changing and we want to make sure the information that ends up in your science textbooks are accurate. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I would help do a lot of research on bugs.
All right. Thank you for that question. We've got time for a couple more questions too, because I know we started a couple minutes late.
We do have a couple more questions. Dustin, do you have a question? Or do you want me to go with someone else, Dustin? I'm gonna go with sorry. I'm gonna go, Gianna, what's your question? Gianna, what's your question? Did you hear that?
No.
What is the reason that you guys picked the jobs that you have?
Passion. Yeah, passion. I wanted to go into science because it was something that I really, really liked. So I found a way to get into it, and I wanted to bring being a lawyer and the science work together. So I went into environmental law. I like to say that I didn't pick my job picked me. So, and it said both of us. So what are your reasons?
I mean, I'll briefly say I love learning. And so I work in education. And so this is just a small part of my job, but I learn from as many people as I can. And today I'm learning from Lauren. And I'm learning from all the questions that you're asking. These are great questions. So I found a job that will allow me to learn every day and to keep growing and learning more about the natural world, but then also just about everything else I can. Yeah, keep these questions coming. Who else has a question they want to ask? That's a really important part of science, is asking questions too. So it's really good to practice asking questions of people or just curiosities about the world too.
Thank you for those answers. Khalil, do you want to ask your question? What was that? What happens if you have two jobs? Do you guys have two jobs?
I do have two jobs.
Oh, there we go.
What happens if you have two jobs? Well, I mean, you inform both jobs about each other. That's important. Honesty is always the biggest part about it. And then you develop a schedule that meets the needs of both jobs. That's the big part. So making sure that I dedicate enough time to being a lawyer because my clients deserve that, as well as dedicating enough time to the green scheme because the youth in Washington, D.C. deserve that from me as well. So yeah, what happens is you get two paychecks. That's the big thing.
Yeah. That's a really great question to think about, right? And there's often, competing needs. And so whether it's, needs coming from family or from your community, you see a need, you recognize a need that your neighbors have that you can help meet, or on a large scale, like the legal work that Lauren's doing. So thank you for asking that. All right, we can maybe take one more. If there's one more question, someone's really excited to ask.
think that is all, but I think we want to say thank you, class. Class, can we say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks so much for joining us.
We
Good luck
are-
with the rest of the school year, and I hope you all have a fun day.
And I'm gonna do
Awesome.
a
Well,
quick
thank-
plug for the
Yeah.
Ward 8 Well. Please come visit us all summer on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We hang out from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. gardening and doing a lot of other fun stuff here. And come see us on a weekend if you've got time with your family. We hang out, we listen to music, we plant, we harvest, we do yoga. We walk through the creek and we look for critters to talk about. So yeah, please come visit us at the Ward 8 Well in Southeast.
All right. Sounds like a good time. I'll see you all there. And we hope you'll continue to tune into our Green Careers live stream series throughout the summer. We'll be posting the schedule and our presenters, and there will be a recording of this one available soon, too. Thank you to everyone tuning in today, and thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing about your work
Of
with
course.
us.
Thank you for having me. It's nice meeting you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for meeting with us. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. You too.